morning to all of you, to my co-panelists, the host, and all the participants to this wonderful webinar. Let me begin by wishing everyone a very happy World Environment Day. And I would like to also start by thanking the Honorable Minister Prakash Javadekar ji for his words of support and also for the support given by the Government of India and by DHI under his leadership to promote the cause of e-mobility. Thank you very much, sir. Um, Before I talk about electric vehicles, I would like to say that on this World Environment Day, I would like to request all of you to think about going green and also request a call to action. I think that we on this particular day should think about the fact that, like we like to breathe fresh air, like we like to look at beautiful trees around us. I think we owe it to our future generations that we live behind for them a livable, enjoyable, green, beautiful planet. And therefore, it's important that we commit ourselves to the cause of improving the environment. Um, of course, through industrialization, the humans have already caused a lot of damage to the environment, and therefore, there's a need to address the climate change issue and reverse whatever damages have been done. And I believe that it can be done if all of us put our efforts together. And therefore, it's important that we act. I think we have to move from apathy that, what can I do? It's too big a problem. There's nothing much I can do about it. To thinking that, yes, my little actions will also make a difference. So we need to move from apathy to action. We need to adopt good measures, good practices, like using an electric vehicle, for example, instead of an ICE vehicle. Using an EV or electric car is like planting 100 trees. So if millions of people use EVs, imagine how much greener the environment would be, how much lower the pollution would be. It could be something like choosing a dwelling which has a platinum or a gold LEED rating. So we know that we're living in a green building. It could be reducing use of plastic around us. It could be adopting solar energy. It could be many small things that we can do in our own way to really bring about a small change. Like our great leaders say, be the change you want to see. So my request to all of you is to move from apathy to action, and then also move from action to advocacy. We can also make a difference by promoting the cause of green to many around us, to our relatives, to our friends, and creating the awareness. So therefore, let me begin by requesting you to go green and making a call to action to go green, from apathy to action to advocacy. Let that be our motto. I'm sure with this, we can make a big difference. Now coming to the today's topic about the opportunities and challenges in promotion of electric 2 and 3 wheelers and their adoption. Of course, it's a topic which is very close to my heart. I've been doing a lot of work in this area. So whatever I speak is really from actual experience in the last few years, being very passionate and very committed to the cause of e-mobility. And very happy to share these thoughts with all of you. First of all, I think I'm stating the obvious, but I would like to state that as we move ahead and commit ourselves to the cause of green, EVs are going to be the future of automotive technology. I think everybody is now committed and everybody is now convinced that it is not the question if EVs will be the future. It's a question of when EVs will become the future or when will they be mass adopted. So we are certainly looking at this transformation happening in our auto industry around the world, not only in India. And it's really a disruption, transformation that's happening to the automotive transport sector. And we are really at the beginning, as Honorable Minister said, we are at the cusp of massive electrification in the coming decade. So I believe that EVs will be used by our citizens around the world, not only because they're green. Certainly they are green. Certainly they are silent. Certainly they are wonderful and fun to ride. But they will also be adopted in large numbers because they will make more sense to the customers, because they will be more affordable to the customers. Already we know that EVs have lower maintenance costs than ICE vehicles. Already we know that EVs have lower running costs because there's no need for any fuel. We already know that the TCO on a total cost of ownership basis, the EVs are already cheaper by almost 50% compared to ICE vehicles if you compare a cost over, let's say, a 5-year period. But I think what is really important, and we are at the cusp of something which is wonderful, is that EVs are also going to be cheaper to buy very soon when you compare them to ICE vehicle. Today, if you look at an electric 2-wheeler or an electric 3-wheeler of good performance, there is a small premium that the customer has to pay upfront. because actually you're comparing apples to oranges. You're buying an EV with battery, which means you're buying an EV with 3 years of fuel loaded onto it, and you're comparing the cost of it to an ICE vehicle, which is without fuel, where you're going to spend much more on the fuel in the next coming 3 years. So people compare this apple to oranges and they feel that they're paying a premium for EV, which they are not, because on a total cost of ownership basis, EVs are still much much cheaper. But this sticker shock, prevents people from going for the new technology, taking a risk, jumping, ahead to try something new. But soon, what is happening or what is going to happen is that lithium-ion battery prices are falling rapidly around the world. Already in the last 5 years, they have fallen from $750 a kilowatt hour to around $180 a kilowatt hour, and this will further come down to 150 or $125 per kilowatt hour. At this price, an electric scooter or an electric auto with a battery will cost exactly the same as an ICE vehicle without fuel. So the savings will become extremely obvious to anybody who's buying it. And I think this aha is what will lead to mass deployment of these vehicles. And I'm happy to tell you that we are not very far from this point. I'm very bullish, I'm very confident that over the next 1 to 2 years, we will reach this kind of parity, especially for the electric two and three wheelers, which are the light mobility segment. And that's when we will see a massive acceleration towards deployment of EVs in the country or in the world. Already, our government of India has committed themselves to the cause of EVs, and schemes like FAME are helping to reduce this upfront cost till the price of batteries come down in a way that we support there's a price parity. But we are moving in this direction very quickly. So let me begin with this message that electric two and three wheelers or electric cars, buses are going to be seen in large numbers in the coming years, because electric vehicles will not only be green, they will not only be silent, they will not only be lower in maintenance cost, but they will also be affordable. And we all know that already with increasing price of fuel, ICE vehicles are becoming more expensive. We already know that with every emission norm that's coming in, BS5, BS4, now BS6, ICE vehicles are becoming heavier, they're becoming less fuel efficient, they're becoming more expensive. So while the cost of the traditional technology is going up, the cost and attractiveness of EVs is increasing. And therefore, I'm very confident, I'm very convinced, I'm very bullish that certainly we will see a mass transformation in our transport sector in this decade. This is the decade of electric vehicles, and we will therefore see a greener transport sector around the world. Now, coming to the topic of two wheelers and three wheelers, that why India has chosen the path of electrification of their two wheelers and three wheelers and buses as the first priority. And does this make any sense? Because whenever people think about electric, they always think about cars. They think because Tesla has such a wonderful, I would say, excitement that they have caused around the world. So people think electric, they think cars. But in India, we have chosen a different route. Our government has committed itself to the cause of green mobility for the masses, and with the focus on electrification of two wheelers and three wheelers and buses as the first priority in the coming years, that we heard also just now from the Honorable Minister. I think that this makes a lot of sense, and I think this is the right way to go. First, because India has a unique transport sector. Unlike the West, US or Europe, where most of the people are traveling in cars, it's a suburb-based economy. In India, most of the people are traveling on two wheelers or using three wheelers and buses as the means of daily transport. So 85% of our transport is by two wheelers, three wheelers, and buses. So if we electrify this segment first, it will first of all make the largest impact to our people. As a developing nation, we should think about how we can bring the benefits of electric vehicles to our masses and how we can reduce the pollution in our cities. And by electrifying the largest volume of vehicles which are moving in our cities, namely three wheelers, two wheelers, and buses, we will actually be able to make this impact. We can actually bring electric vehicles in huge numbers in our cities, reduce the pollution, and most importantly, reduce the fuel cost for our common Indian man or the middle class or the masses, whatever we call the mass users of vehicles in our country. And I think that is when the impact of e-mobility will be felt by more number of people in our nation. That's when we will feel the impact of lower pollution in our cities. So I think first of all, from a social point of view, bringing the benefits of e-mobility to the masses is the right way to go. We need not copy the West. We can have our own unique strategy, which makes sense to our society. And I'm very proud that our government has chosen this path. Secondly, and practically speaking, Two-wheelers and three-wheelers can also be electrified faster because they are intra-city vehicles. The moment you think about buying a car or a truck, you always think about being able to take it from one city to another city. If you buy a car, you want to go from Delhi to Agra, from Pune to Mumbai. It's not only for use within the city. Whereas two-wheelers and three-wheelers are always intra-city vehicles. Three-wheelers are always flying in a certain periphery within the city. They have a certain route that they follow. And even for two-wheelers, we have seen that mostly people use two-wheelers for about 40, 50, 60, 80 kilometers a day. And therefore the route is predictable. The amount of range required for these vehicles is limited, and which makes it feasible for us to give a vehicle, electric two and three wheeler, with adequate battery that the customer can use the vehicle all day without having to charge the vehicle during the day, by and large, which then reduces the requirement of a charging infrastructure. So going back to the point that the Honorable Minister made, what comes first, chicken or egg? Whether charging infra comes first or vehicle population comes first. If we electrify two-wheelers and three-wheelers, the vehicles can come first and charging infrastructure can come along with it or can follow, because predominantly people can charge their vehicles at home after they have used it for their daily running, which makes it easier for us to start deployment of electric vehicles, which will then kind of lead to a momentum for electrification. As lakhs of two-wheelers and three-wheelers come on the roads, auto component companies will come in the to make components. People will become more familiar. They will start using more electric vehicles. They will start recommending electric vehicles. Charging infra companies will have business, for their infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So it will create the required momentum then to lead to the next level of electrification, where we can look at electrification of the car sector. And I'm also confident that by that time, in the next 3 to 4 years, through the battery advances, we will be able to make electric cars also, which give adequate range for long distance traveling, which will also become more affordable. And the advance will in technology and innovation will make electric cars again also more affordable to customers. So I think that this is the right way also, because it's a practical way where we can start electrification without waiting for charging infra, and where again we can bring it to our cities. Now last but not the least, I think that in India, no, jo dikta hai wo bikta hai. So if you put many more vehicles on the road through this simpler route of putting intra-city vehicles in electric mode, it will also give people confidence that electric vehicles are being used, and that will lead to more people considering and buying electric vehicles. So I think this can also kind of pave way for higher customer adoption of electric vehicles. I'm very proud to say that Kinetic Green has also been committed to this cause of green mobility for the masses. Our company is one of the pioneering companies in the electric vehicle sector. We began our journey 5 years ago with development of ground up development of indigenous electric three-wheelers. And today we have the widest range of three-wheelers, from passenger to cargo solutions, from low speed to high speed, all the way up to 1 ton GVW vehicle. And we are deploying our vehicles for various uses, whether it is last mile transport, last mile connectivity, last mile logistics, and working very practically to promote the cause of electric mobility. We're also working very hard for localization and building on the Atmanirbhar Bharat message for our electric vehicle sector. Kinetic today has all its vehicles approved under the FAME scheme with almost 100% local content. So that's another effort that we are making, that not only looking at bringing electric vehicles, but designing them ground up, making them available for different uses, and also working on building the entire supply chain for electric vehicles. We have now sold close to 40 to 50,000 vehicles, and have really enjoyed this journey of trying to promote the cause of electric mobility. So from our experience, I would like to also share with you, as I said before, that how can we bring more electric two and three wheelers on the road? And what do we do to create the initial population when it's a new technology and customers have more reservations, customers have concerns, financials are not coming forward to finance electric vehicles, and we know that jo dikta hai wo bikta hai. So how to create the population? So this is where I feel that the electric two and three wheelers can be promoted in our cities in very interesting ways and very innovative ways, not really opening showrooms and waiting for customers to walk in as the only method, but thinking how can we do, bring many other use cases, practical use cases, and innovative business models to bring these vehicles on the road. I'd like to share some of these with you. First of all, of course, electric three-wheelers are very useful for passenger mobility, especially in last mile. So metro, near metro stations, near bus stations. We would like to encourage metro authorities, bus authorities to promote electric vehicles as a last mile means for their passengers. It will also reduce the cost of transport for the metro users if they use electric three-wheelers for the last mile. That's a wonderful way that millions of people can experience electric three-wheelers. Small towns. In smaller towns of India, where distances are smaller, where the traffic moves at a slower speed, certainly electric three wheelers can replace the diesel, petrol, or CNG three wheelers, and again can reduce the cost of transport for the citizens of the small towns. So, for passenger mobility, these are the two lowest hanging fruits: last mile connectivity and small towns. Of course, the second and most important use for electric three and two wheelers both is the last mile logistics. um, Cost of transport using a diesel vehicle, whether it's a, chota hathi kind of vehicle or a three wheeler diesel, is almost 4 to 5 rupees per kilometer. On top of that, there is a maintenance cost. On top of that, there is the issue of emission and noise. If electric three and two wheelers are used for last mile logistics, it can greatly reduce the cost of transport for last mile logistics, and also again can create the population required to promote these vehicles. E-commerce segment is looking at this kind of transformation, and I would encourage more and more e-commerce related companies, logistics companies, to come forward and use EVs in their fleet. It will also increase their profitability, reduce their cost, and also make their customers happy, because when the vehicles will come to their societies, they will not make sound, they will not lead to diesel emissions. So that's another area. I would like to also encourage gas cylinder distribution companies and their distributors to deploy EVs for gas cylinder movement. I would like to encourage consumer goods companies, FMCG companies, to use electric vehicles for the last mile from the warehouse to retailer, or even retailer to customers. Post COVID world, people would like to have home delivery. So we can use EVs to bring the FMCG or consumer goods to directly to consumers' homes. Last but not the least is the government. I think that as we have seen, governments have been pushing use of EV buses. I think similarly, some other uses such as waste management using electric vehicles can really pave way for deployment. So in some cities, this has started, but many more cities can use electric three-wheelers for collecting waste door to door. I want to give an example. Recently, we have deployed 1,000 vehicles in Chennai in a very interesting waste management project, where 1,000 women are using our electric autos to collect waste at customers' homes. And the waste has been collected in a segregated manner. And these women who were earlier the rack pickers are now using EVs to go and collect segregated waste and then bring it to the dumping yard. And this has had a wonderful impact in the city of Chennai, and is really an example that many other cities, I believe, can follow. We have also recently given 3,000 vehicles in Andhra Pradesh, where one electric three-wheeler is being used in one village to collect the waste of that village, and is being used by unemployed youth. So it's also creating a livelihood. So this youth is being paid by the Gram Panchayat to use this vehicle to collect waste door to door. So we are also being able to not only green the village, not only automate the waste management, but also generate livelihoods. There are many such examples where the governments can come forward and promote use of EVs. There are welfare schemes for livelihood creation. I'll give you example of Uttar Pradesh. A few years ago, we deployed 10,000 electric three-wheelers there, e-rickshaws, which were given to cycle rickshaw pullers, again through a government procurement scheme, where the cycle rickshaw pullers who were earning very little money, had very poor health and social standard, using our e-rickshaws are now able to earn a very dignified livelihood. Their earnings have gone from 200 rupees to 1,000 rupees a day. It's of course also greened the city, and their health, economic status, social status all have been uplifted. So social upliftment, poverty alleviation, along with use of electric vehicles. So I believe that government can really come up with many such examples, such use cases, like waste management, like ecotourism, like livelihood creation, to promote the use of EVs. So I think that as we all move towards the cause of electrification of our two and three wheelers, innovative business models for use of EVs also need to be thought through, so that we can create the initial momentum, initial population, after which, I think there is no looking back. Now, have we come where we have come? What do I see as the outlook for the next 10 years? Again, I believe that we are at a cusp of electrification, rapid electrification, and the government of India has already taken many steps, many right steps towards the right policy framework. There are a few areas which need to be addressed, which I would like to request um, the government and also other policymakers to consider. First and foremost is the issue of finance. Uh, Currently, financing is unavailable or very little financing is available for selling of EVs to final customers. NBFCs and banks have not really, I would say, addressed this segment seriously. First of all, because the number is small, it's less than 5% of the total sales, so it's not such a big priority for them. Secondly, they have concerns about, lack of data for repossessed vehicle prices. They have concerns about, what would be the recovery rates, etc. So we need to create some models towards promoting of financing of EVs. And I'm sure that with move to lithium and batteries, and with more EVs being on the road, bankers' concerns are well addressed. Lithium ion batteries have good life, 3 to 5 years, which is equal to the entire loan scheme period. So they need not be concerned about recovery because of technology, and so on and so forth. But there is an initial inertia towards financing. I think we need support from the government. I think EV should be included in the priority sector lending, at least for the next few years, till there is an adequate population created, so that banks are encouraged or required to promote EVs and to support EVs. And this will really help in creating the population of EVs, through financing, which is needed. Our customers are middle class and lower middle class. They're not able to buy the EVs with upfront cash. Financing is very much required. So, including electric vehicles in priority sector lending or other means whereby financing is made available for EVs is very much required, and this is something that needs to be done on absolutely top priority. The second area I would like to request government to consider is the norms for homologation of e-rickshaws. Currently, as many of you may be aware, there is a large number of e-rickshaws which are being sold in some parts of the country, which are mainly made from imported parts. These vehicles are of poor quality, they're not registered, they're not insured in many cases, and they're not safe. And they're also creating a bad example for electric vehicles. People believe that EVs, therefore, are of bad quality. And most importantly, I think they are an unsafe means of transport for our citizens. Now, this is happening because the homologation norms for e rickshaws today are highly inadequate. There are only 8 standards that an e-rickshaw company has to meet in order to get their vehicle homologated or approved. And these are very simple standards compared to around 30 standards which are required to be met by an L5 auto, normal or electric auto, which include important standards like gradability, EMI, EMC, range, efficiency, and such, which ensure that good quality safe vehicles are being used or allowed to run on our streets. Whereas for e-rickshaw, the homologation norms are extremely simple, and any small player, with a small assembly shop, can create a e-rickshaw from imported parts to meet these norms. So unless the norms are tightened, unless government says that okay, good quality vehicles are allowed to be plying on our streets, how can we expect good quality vehicles to come on our streets? FAME scheme does not approve of such e-rickshaws. FAME scheme requires that an e-rickshaw which is approved under FAME meets all the L5 norms, is properly designed, is safe. And according to me, the basic homologation norm for e-rickshaw should also address this issue, and they should be tightened so that better quality rickshaws will ply on our streets. And it will also lead to a consistency in government's policy, where government wants Atmanirbhar Bharat, where the government wants local component manufacturers to come forward and not use of imported parts, and also the revenue loss which the government is facing because of non-payment of taxes, poor practices like under invoicing, not insuring the vehicles will also get plugged. So there's an urgent need to tighten the homologation norms for e-rickshaws and upgrade the standard of e-rickshaws so that good quality EVs will ply on the street. And one last point I would like to request our government to consider, Honorable Minister to consider, is to strengthen FAME for short run. FAME is a very good policy, it's in the right direction. However, due to COVID, Companies have got battered. Customers have become more risk averse. They are not willing to experiment a lot, try new technology. The overall momentum for localization of parts has slowed down. And there's a need, therefore, to increase the slab of incentive for two and three wheelers under FAME to 20,000 rupees per kilowatt hour from the current slab of 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour, and make it same as the slab for buses. E-buses have a slab of 20,000 rupees per kilowatt hour. And I think if the same slab is provided to two and three wheelers, at least for the next 2 years, I think it will reduce that gap I was talking about in the sticker price, and more customers will come forward and buy EVs. So I think if we take these three important steps, namely availability of financing through making EVs under priority sector lending, secondly, tightening the homologation norms for e-rickshaws to improve the quality of e-rickshaws on the road, and improving the slab for electric two and three wheelers under FAME in order to initially give a push to creating population, will really help all the other steps that the government has taken to create the boost for electric vehicles. I'd also like to I'd like to request the private sector to step up based on all the efforts government has taken to come and make investments in electric vehicle sector, especially auto component companies, and to create a stronger supply chain, to again, work hand in hand together with the OEMs to create stronger models and a better ecosystem for EV quality. I would like to also request states.
वही सेम ही है वो तो पासपोर्ट तो मांगता नहीं है. There are 7 of us there. Jitendra Sharma.
So, in conclusion, I would like to say that the Stone Age did not end because lack of stones, and I think the oil age will also end long before the world runs out of oil. So it's very clear that EVs are the future, and we're at the cusp of a massive disruption, a massive transformation. And green mobility in India through adoption of electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers is going to be a game changer for mass mobility. Its impact will be felt far beyond environmental changes. It will bring not only ecological balance, ecological sustainability, it will also reduce the cost of transport for our citizens and also lead to social upliftment by using EVs for better livelihood creation. And I think we are certainly therefore moving towards a greener and better tomorrow. I think India can set an example to the world of deploying this unique green mobility model, looking at its own transport sector and using its transport sector strengths, which is large number. We are the world's largest two-wheeler market, world's largest three-wheeler market. And therefore, we have the strength of numbers. So if we are able to electrify these segments, we will also lead in terms of the numbers of electric vehicles that India is selling. And that will again lead to a great amount of momentum and ecosystem creation. And India can really lead this entire transformation that the world is seeing. So on that note, I would like to wish all the participants a great World Environment Day, and all my colleagues in the EV sector a wonderful year ahead, and my best wishes to all of you. And I think we should all feel very proud that we're contributing to a better environment. I'm very much proud, and I also congratulate you for being part of this movement. Thank you very much.
That was a great speech, Suloja ma'am. Thank you very much. I have one question on Twitter from one of the viewers, and his name is Sumit Jha. He's from DTU, the engineering college in Delhi. He's asking, according to you, battery swapping or fast charging, which would be the game changer for two-wheelers and three-wheelers?
So I would like to say that for three-wheelers, battery swapping makes a lot of sense because electric three-wheelers are commercial use. So the driver doesn't want to waste any time even in charging. And also the more the driver runs, the more he or she earns. And our three-wheelers are moving in crowded urban areas where battery swapping stations can come up. They need not, there's no need for putting them up in the suburbs. So because three-wheelers are urbanized, because there is a need for as many kilometers usage as possible, and also because if you look at the social status of that electric three-wheeler buyer, if we reduce the upfront cost by removing the battery and making it available on a pay-per-use basis, more people will be able to afford electric three-wheelers. The finance cost comes down, the upfront installment, the upfront down payment comes down, installment comes down. So it becomes more affordable to that class of society which is using three-wheelers as a means of livelihood. So I'm very bullish on use of battery swapping for electric three-wheelers, both for passenger as well as cargo. I'm sure it will come up we would have seen many more battery swapping stations already in India. I think which got a little bit slowed down due to COVID and the related impact on mass mobility and last mile connectivity. As far as two-wheelers go, I feel that customers of two-wheelers have a limited range that they need. Most of the two-wheelers, I have my colleagues from the two-wheeler sector, they will of course add much more dimension to this. Don't go beyond 60-70 kilometers a day, except for the vehicles which are used for deliveries, for e-commerce, which run longer. So it's quite possible to use put enough battery on the vehicle to give a range of 70-80 kilometers. So most customers not need a charge or a swap during the day, and home charging can be prevalent. And those who need, I think if we can put up fast charging stations, at schools, colleges, malls, public areas, would be easier way to give that additional boost. So I feel that while there would be use of swapping for some electric two-wheelers, especially the ones which are used for delivery, for like food delivery, grocery delivery, and other delivery uses, they could benefit from swapping. But the let's say the family users or the students will possibly be able to use two-wheelers and use the home charging application or use fast charging. So I think it's a mix of both, and depending on the user, they would prefer what's available.